On tonight's show, welcome to the Ottawa Senators, Logan Hensler.
We just finished watching all 32 picks of the first round and give our immediate reaction.
This is Brady Kachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Today is still Friday, June 27th, a double dip episode. And Pilsy, do you know what happened the last time the Senators traded back in the first round with the Nashville Predators and selected a right shot defenseman?
I believe they ended up with Erik Karlsson.
They certainly did. Now, no pressure to Logan Hensler, who is the Senators' choice at 23rd overall. And I can already see you smirking on the other end of the screen. I know we were not super high on Logan Hensler pre-draft, calling him a safe pick, a guy who maybe didn't have the dynamic ability that we were hoping for in a first-round pick. But now, after seeing the sell job from Don Boyd, who was on with TSN 1200, all the analysts calling him best player available, what are your thoughts on the Senators picking Hensler at 23?
Well, Ross, you can't make this stuff up. Logan Hensler was one of my lowest Sens Stars rated players. I was quite down on him in our prospect profile. He was a guy that I had lower on my list than most. And when the Ottawa Senators made the selection, I got to be honest, I was disappointed immediately because I wanted the Sens to make a big swing on skill. There was other players that I preferred in that spot. Blake Fiddler, Malcolm Spence, Lyndon Lakovic, guys like that. I wanted something a little more flashy. Not that Blake Fiddler's flashy, but he brings a little bit more shut down physical element to his game as a right shot defenseman. But it's very refreshing to see the Ottawa Senators not the laughingstock of the scouting community and online. In fact, I think this is one of the most praised jobs at the draft that we've seen from the Ottawa Senators in a while, obviously other than Tim Stützle at third overall in 2020. But for the Ottawa Senators to be able to identify that at 21, there's a crop of players they like, and Don Boyd, head scout, mentioned that Logan Hensler was still at the top of their list. They would have been fine selecting him at 21. They realized they can move back 2 picks with Nashville from 21 to 23, hardly a risk at all, and receive the 67th overall pick. They need more draft capital, so that's good. And I would say probably the 2 guys that went, Bill Zonin and that Russian goalie, were not guys that they were going to select anyways, and they're able to make their pick. That's solid asset management from the Ottawa Senators. And if you look where Logan Hensler was on pretty much everyone's list, he was quite high, and the Ottawa Senators got a lot of praise for the way they were able to handle this. So it's refreshing, Ross, to see that the Ottawa Senators did not reach on a guy. In fact, in most people's opinion, they got really good value.
And we'll get into what kind of player Logan Hensler will be at the NHL level when he gets there. Currently at the University of Wisconsin, just finished his freshman season. We'll pull up his stats too. Hey, it's been a long day, Pilsy. That Russian goalie was the 20th overall pick, and then Ottawa traded back. It was Cameron Reed, the pick that Nashville.
I could tell from your face that I made a mistake. My bad.
Hey, I made a way worse mistake. I posted our graphic, and I don't know what I did, but 2 + 10 equals
83.
12, actually. Yes, that was a little mistake there. The one mistake, we made, 50 cards? And the one mistake that I made on any card was the Senators pick. Hey, hopefully we made a mistake on our pre-draft rankings. Yes. Nobody would want to be more wrong than us. But at the same time, we were low on him. He was 15th on Bob McKenzie's list. We were low on him. There's no going around that.
Mm-hmm.
I had him 23rd on my list. Where did he go?
23rd.
And you were extremely low on him. And where'd you have him?
I had him 27.
That's still right there.
But most people had him in the teens. I'm looking through mock drafts. A lot of people had him drafted at like 20, 18, 19, right around there. That's where most people had him in their rankings as well. And I think, Ross, excuse me, looking back, I think I put a lot of emphasis on the start of his season, and a lot of people, a lot of scouting reports mentioned that he was one of the most improved players throughout the NCAA season. He played on a poor Wisconsin Badgers team that did not have much success at all. They were one of the worst teams in the Big Ten Conference, and that's a tough conference as well. And as a freshman defenseman in the NCAA, that's challenging, and it's going to take time for you to work things out. And the improvement from Hensler's first half from his second half of the season is pretty big. So I think that's another thing to look at there. And he is one of the, even though he's a freshman in the NCAA, he is one of the older kids in this draft. He's got good size at 6'3", 6'3", 190. I think we had him at somewhere around there. Yeah. So look, the size is there. Let me put it this way. I'm not upset at the Ottawa Senators for picking another player with size because, and like I mentioned, this isn't a player that only brings size to the table. He doesn't only have size, physicality, strength. In fact, I would say, Ross, the size is kind of a added bonus to his game. The bread and butter of Logan Hensler's game is his smooth skating, his transition game, and his ability to move the puck up the ice. Now, 12 points in 32 games. He's not that playmaking, flashy offensive defenseman that's going to set guys up with ease. However, a lot of people also mentioned in their scouting reports that there's probably more offense to give here and add a little bit more oomph to his team. I don't know. Let's say fellow Sens prospect Blake Montgomery, who's going to play at the University of Wisconsin next year, and that could really help out his numbers. So although I was down, and there's still other guys I might have preferred that didn't get picked, two of them in Fiddler and Spence, so that goes to show something. I'm coming around on Logan Hensler for sure, and I think if you look from where I was at in our prospect profile to where I was at when he was selected and where I am now, we're trending upward here, Ross, so not too bad.
Yeah, I think I feel really good about it because they got that extra pick as well.
Helps.
It was going to be a long wait until the final pick of the third round, which is where the Senators were next scheduled to draft. And now they've got the third pick in the third round. So now you're going to be adding another prospect. And clearly Logan Hensler is viewed very highly. I know you mentioned he's one of the older players in this draft class, but still making Team USA at the World Juniors as a 17 or 18, but just turned 18-year-old. I think that shows that there's a level of trust that coaches have in the way that he plays. He defends extremely well. At Elite Prospects, they ranked him the 5th best neutral zone defender in the class and the 5th best puck moving defenseman in the class as well. If he was a left shot defenseman, I would be banging my head on the table. But when you're looking at the future of the Ottawa Senators blue line, Carter Yakimchuk on one pair and Logan Hensler on the other, you're starting to see the makings of what could be a pretty solid right side where both guys are 6'3" or taller and are big trees, not shrubs on the back end. So this is actually the 4th straight season that the Senators have used their first selection on a defenseman.
Yeah.
The others, 2 of them, obviously not first-round picks. Philip Nordberg at the very end of the second round in 2022, and then Hoyt Stanley in the 4th round in 2023. But back-to-back first-round picks between Yakimchuk and Logan Hensler. The Sens have identified that they needed to shore up the right side pipeline, and that's what we knew they needed to do. We said a right shot defenseman or skill up front. Skill up front still needs to be worked on. Hopefully they can take a swing on that tomorrow with a high upside player later on in the middle rounds of the draft. But you can see the thought process of Don Boyd, of Steve Staios, and the organization of saying this is the type of player that we're going to win with in 5 to 7 years when he's entering his prime.
Yeah, and you start thinking, and again, you don't always want to draft for positional need or being like, oh, this guy's going to play with this guy one day, because it doesn't always work out like that, and you can't really project years in advance how guys are going to be. But if you want to do that for fun, you could see this guy as a nice combination paired with Thomas Chabot one day, right? Like let Thomas Chabot play his offensive defenseman style game, and then Logan Hensler is going to be a much more poised, puck moving defenseman. And then you get into a situation where it's not like opponents are going to be dumping it in one corner, being like, okay, Chabot can handle the puck, so dump it in Hensler's end every time, because he can't, because he's confident in doing that. And I think he's going to improve on that even more. And sure, playing on a poor Wisconsin Badgers team isn't always the best, but it's going to give him the opportunity to play a lot of minutes, which he already has been. He's going to get the opportunity to play on the power play, even though he doesn't really have the offensive skills to be on better teams' power plays. He's getting these chances, and he's going to have to face adversity, and that's good for development. So I'm seeing the vision that the Ottawa Senators had when they had Logan Hensler high on their list and when they selected him at 23rd overall.
To go back to elite prospects, their elevator pitch for Logan Hensler was a toolsy play killer who steadily improved throughout the season, an easy projection to the NHL, and there's more offense to give. Hey, if he turns out like his shades of, we're going to be really happy. They have shades of Noah Hannafin, who was a 5th overall pick in the draft way back in 2015. But I like the upside on the style of player if he can unlock a little bit more offense and hopefully playing on a better team next year. In Wisconsin, they've grown through a lot of learning this year, and hopefully it all comes together. So there is a very good outcome with this pick. Now, who does Logan Hensler model his game after? You're going to want to stick around for this. Then we'll get to our surprises of the entirety of the first round of the NHL Draft and who are the best available players on day 2. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop the closer you get to your event, so you can score big without overpaying. It's not just sports, guys. Comedy, theater, musics, concerts, whatever you're looking for, you can find it on Game Time. You can save huge with zone deals. They pick the best seats at the lowest prices. You can see exactly what your seat's going to look like before checkout, so you have total confidence. And Game Time includes fees up front, backs every order with their ticket coverage guarantee, covering cancellations, job loss, and even offering 24-hour returns. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
All right, Pilsy, so the NHL Draft turns the page to day 2. And if you want to watch and join us for day 2, we will be going live on YouTube at 11:30. Plenty of special guests will join us along the way. And Pilsy, hopefully this is the last time we see the decentralized draft, because that was almost 4 hours long to make 32 picks. Who the heck would spend that long on a first round?
Imagine. Yeah, that's just crazy. But yeah, the decentralized draft, look, I want the NHL to succeed, Ross, but I'm kind of glad this didn't go that well, and there was lots of technical difficulties. The Sens, unfortunately, their pick was one of them. We can't be doing this. Like, let's not do this again. It's so much more fun to have everybody at the draft. These are NHL teams that are valued over $1 billion. You can afford to get a couple hotel rooms for scouts and GMs for a couple nights. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think teams are going to realize, hey, it's better for everyone for us to do a proper draft. And yeah, I don't think it turned out the way that they hoped. I think, Ross, they thought the decentralized draft was going to speed things up. Doesn't seem like that's the case.
I don't know what was more awkward, when there was technical difficulties or when there was an actual conversation with a player staring at a screen and then a 3-second delay and then the GM talking back to him. It was just strange all around.
Yeah, not great.
There's a great tweet after James Higgins went 7th overall to the Boston Bruins, where it's like best moment of his life, and they're asking him to wave at a screen with frozen people on it.
Yeah, there's no
Just wave at the camera, James.
Yeah, there's no opportunity for proper connection there, in my opinion.
No. So swing and a miss by the NHL. They tried it, but hopefully it's back to the usual format for next season. Speaking of Logan Hensler, though, the Senators pick, obviously right shot defenseman, two-way, mobile from Minnesota. So another Midwestern
State
boy.
of hockey.
And I think the floor for Logan Hensler is Nick Jensen.
Oh, okay. I actually like that. That's a good one. Because Nick Jensen is a smooth skating two-way defenseman that nobody would call him an offensive defenseman. He's not going to put up a lot of points, probably not going to play on the power play, but once in a while can wow you with some offensive skill. And I was going to say a handful, that's being generous. There was one or two highlights of Logan Hensler's where I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. I think he had one highlight reel play against Michigan where he dipsy-doodled and had a nice goal.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good one, Ross. That's bang on in my opinion.
And maybe on the other side, it's the player that he models his game after. Senators defenseman Jake Sanderson is who he models his game after. Look, if he can get to who he grew up watching, he said that his favorite thing to do growing up was watching YouTube clips of Brent Burns. I don't know if he's Brent Burns. I don't know if anybody's Brent Burns. But Logan Hensler giving a little head nod as Jake Sanderson. I mean, that's got to get him super excited to be coming to Ottawa as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good mentor to have. We're talking about Jake Sanderson like he's some wily vet. He's in his early 20s. But Ross, what I'm trying to do, and people know I'm the king of spin zoning, so spin me around here. I'm spin zoning. I'm trying to think back, and I'm putting myself in the position. Remember when Jake Sanderson was drafted, and there was a lot of people that said, look, nice, smooth skating, good transition guy, but there's no offense there. He's not going to put up points in the NHL. Low ceiling, high floor. He's going to play, but who knows what he can really do. I'm trying to pretend that I'm those people looking at Logan Hensler and being like, good skater, but no offense. What's he going to do? I don't know. He has the tools. And I think we even talked about this in our prospect profile, which we were down on him. We mentioned the tools that he has, and it might take time, but I'm starting to see the vision that he could be. You got mixes of Nick Jensen, Jake Sanderson in there, and those are good tools to start with as an NHL defenseman.
Yeah, you think? No doubt. Now, back in the NCAA next season and back in the World Juniors for Team USA, we expect him to maintain his spot there. So, yeah, let's see how he looks at Dev Camp. I'm excited to see Logan Hensler, who is number 2 on the Senators prospect pool list right now. We're going to do our full list later this summer, but...
Yeah, probably. I mean, Levi Marilainen is...
But there's no way he's on par
3 at the lowest. Yeah. 3 at the lowest, yes.
Yeah. Like, there's no way that you'd say, like, oh, is it him or Carter Yakimchuk is still the no doubt number 1 prospect in the Ottawa Senators organization. So welcome to Ottawa and the Senators organization, Logan Hensler. Hey, kind of cool, Pilsy. They used our voices in their hype video, but that also means that they watched our profile on him.
Yeah, it was cool to see. Martian sent us a message saying they used our voices, and immediately I was like, oh no. Where did they clip from that prospect profile? Look, if there's something we can learn, especially me, if I'm down on a player in our prospect profile and there's clippable quotes of me saying things about him, you can guarantee that guy's going to be an Ottawa Senators draft pick, and I'm going to have to spin zone myself. But here we are, and this is a much better situation.
Much better. Come on.
I said much better. Situation in the past. I forget what I was going to say now, but
it's something positive for sure.
Yes, definitely something positive. I'm excited that he's going to be going to Wisconsin. Madison is supposed to be a sweet place. Ross.
Road trip.
I know you got a newborn, but that's fairly close to you. So we got to make a scouting trip, boots on the ground trip to go see Tyson Dick, Blake Montgomery.
It's close. It's an 11-hour drive.
And, well, I mean, closer than, well, you'll fly. Come on, you're not driving.
Can you fly to the Madison, Wisconsin have an airport? Probably fly to Chicago.
Yeah, okay. I'll meet you in Chicago. Everybody knows I love Chicago.
When the Sens play in Chicago, we'll exercise your demons there, and we'll go to Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, I'm not going to a game in Chicago. I can't do that, Ross.
Is Wisconsin's schedule out yet?
No, I checked.
Okay, because I'd love to see them play at the Ralph.
Ross, I know you love to coin the term Nodak Sens. Well, now we got Wisconsens.
Yes, 3 of them, eh? Because we're forgetting about Tyson Dick.
I didn't. He was the first guy I just mentioned.
Okay.
I
heard you say it, and I still forgot about him.
I had something good to say. It's midnight right now. I had a couple rum and cokes to get myself through this, so forgive me for a couple mistakes here.
And you will be back, boots on the stream, in exactly 11 hours.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Tom Green making the pick? When he brought the dog out, I was like, uh-oh. It's one of those where it's like you need a puppy to make everybody feel better right away.
Yeah, I mean, cute dog. Ross, not a dog guy, clearly. He sees a dog, he's like, uh-oh, there's a dog here.
I'm such a dog guy. You're the
I think that's a good sign to see a dog there. Nothing wrong with that. I feel like he was kind of the leading guy to be there. He's kind of funny, he's quirky, and I love the Check the OR music video classic. He's wearing the Sens hat, so I'm fine with it. Yeah,
it was fine. I like the tweet, though, from the Senators saying, let's check in on the green room, and it was Tom Green and Travis Green.
Yep.
We like
play on words. Good job.
Very good. So, as everybody expects, night one, with what was available at 23 overall, or even you have to include everything. So, what was available at 21, trading back, then making the pick at 23, your Sens grade on the first night of the draft?
I'm giving him a B+. I think maybe some people might be surprised by that based on my reaction. But again, that's smart asset management, trading down, only 2 picks, not a lot of risk. They get a 67th overall, a pick that they need. Who knows what kind of player will be there and like how much value that actually brings. But they got to replenish the prospect pipeline here. And they pick a player that the general public and scouts and prospect experts really like, and I'm coming around on him too here. So this was a well done job by the Ottawa Senators, and it's nice not to be the laughing stock of a draft pick.
Dude, Bob McKenzie had him 15th
Yeah,
on his list.
Yeah.
17th on Elite Prospects, 21st from the Hockey News, 25th at McKean's Hockey, 26th on Craig Button's list. Flow Hockey and Chris Peters had him 20th on their rankings. Sam Constantino with Sportsnet had 16, whereas Jason Bukala on Sportsnet had him at 27th, so a little bit lower. Recruit Scouting had him at 10th overall. Dauber Prospects at 16th. And here on the Locked On Senators podcast, Logan Hensler was 23rd on my list and 27th on Pilsey's.
Like, nobody had him out of the first round. Like, he's a bona fide guaranteed first rounder, and the Senators trade back and get him. A smooth, big, right shot defenseman. It's nice.
There were some other surprises, though, on night one of the NHL Draft. Let's get to that next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. But that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Guys, Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You've got a war room of your own for your finances. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money. Start building that wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan your long-term goals. Plus, managing money with your partner, smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all that stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
All right, Pilsy, the first round of the NHL Draft is in the books, and the surprises really started where? Number 4 for you, Caleb Desnoyers going 4th, or was it even earlier with Anton Frondel being the 3rd overall pick?
No, neither of those, Ross. The surprises for me didn't really come until, I was a little bit surprised at 8 that Seattle didn't go for Radim Murka, a right shot defenseman they desperately need, but I'm high on Jake O'Brien, so that was fine. The surprise for me, ironically, came when maybe my favorite player of the draft and the top guy I wanted the Sens to get, Benjamin Kindle, was selected with the 11th overall pick by the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, and we felt like we were like the most high on Ben Kindle, especially you. Yet he goes even higher to Kyle Dubas. And then they were like, okay, we got Ben Kindle 11. Let's trade back with 12. We don't need another pick right away. And then they move back to 22, and that's where they select Bill Zonin. So it was really interesting to see that all play out and how Pittsburgh leaves this draft with, even though they had 3 picks, it feels like, I don't know, it wasn't necessarily the best showing for them with what was available at that point in the draft.
I think they could have done better, Ross. And everybody knows I'm a Ben Kindle guy, but the fact that they had back-to-back picks and they took Ben Kindle, which was arguably a reach, and then traded with their state rival, the Philadelphia Flyers, for that pick that had been moved. Now, that was the 4th team. It was New York's to Vancouver to Pittsburgh to Philly. And then the Flyers take Jack Nesbitt. I couldn't believe that that's the string of events that happened there. And Kindle and Nesbitt going together is something we kind of thought might happen, but not at 11 and 12.
And the fact that it was the 12th overall pick that got traded just makes it even more fun because that pick's been traded now 4 times. It was the Rangers, the Canucks, the Penguins, and then the Flyers that had it. Not in that order, but I
just went over that.
Oh.
That's all good though. It's so crazy. We had to hear it twice here.
I'm scrolling through all of them. Hey, it's like you said, 12:30 in the morning. So I'm scrolling through all. I'm trying to find because man, it's weird. It takes so long, but it also happens fast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when it's going, it feels like it's happening fast. But then at the end of the night, you're like, holy crap, this started hours and hours ago. So those were the biggest surprises, Ross. Carter Bear to Detroit. That was the least surprising thing, maybe other than Schaefer going 1st overall. The biggest faller of the draft though. Oh my goodness, the New York Islanders getting Victor Eklund at 16th overall. I didn't think there was a chance this guy was going to fall out of the top 10. I thought at the very most Pittsburgh would take him at 11, and the New York Islanders, slam dunk of a day, if you ask me. Now, Noah Dobson, obviously a very good player, but when you get Matthew Schaefer, Victor Eklund, and Kashawn Aitchison, you're setting yourself up pretty good in the future, especially you get the skilled defenseman, you get a hard forechecker in Eklund, and then you get a physical force of a human being in Kashawn Aitchison on the back end too. Matthew Darsh, like, very interesting first day. And it was nice to see Ryan Bonus get a little screen time too, eh?
Yeah, he did. Hey, did you hear those picks got traded today? Those 2 that they used?
Well, let me know.
Yeah, so that was obviously what they got back for the Noah Dobson trade earlier that day. And to use them on Eklund and Aitchison, slam dunk 1st round for the New York Islanders, no doubt. And I think they win the 1st round of the draft. Pretty handily, but I also want to give some love to the Calgary Flames, leaving that 1st round with Cole Reshny, who also fell a little bit, going 18th overall, 18th overall to Calgary, and then getting Cullen Potter with the last pick of the 1st round. That's a nice little haul for them. I like what they're doing there. And then you look on the other side of things. What the hell is San Jose doing taking a goalie? They just traded a 1st round pick for Askarov literally this year.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. The only thing I could think of, Ross, is that prospect pipeline is so deep that it's nice to have a couple goalies just in case. You never know how they're going to pan out, but that was surprising to me. I really thought Columbus or Nashville was going to take them, but Columbus does end up with a goalie at 20th overall.
It's just, to me, like, San Jose, don't they lead off tomorrow? Like, don't you think he would have been there? Because there's only certain teams that are going to take a goalie. LA just took one. Was it last year with Carter George?
Yeah, and Calgary's not taking one. Yeah, good point.
Right? And, like, Sam Dickinson with Hunter Brusevich, they were sick this year with the London Knights. I don't know. And then Brusevich goes with the next pick to the LA Kings. So that was, to me, a little bit of an interesting one.
Fair.
I also want to note that the Chicago Blackhawks basically did the Ottawa Senators type draft, where they're just saying, who's the tallest guys? Like the Anton Frondel, not the tallest guy, but the biggest of the guys that they could have taken at 3rd overall. And then they go out and they added Vaclav Nestrasil, 6'6" at 25th overall. And then they trade up, and Kyle Davidson, GM in Chicago, said, yeah, I know I probably gave up more value in the picks that I gave up. They gave up they gave up 3 picks to get the 1 for to move back into the first round at 29th overall. And they take Mason West, the player that was most intriguing to us going into the draft, because it might be the first time ever that on an NHL draft broadcast, we're watching high school football highlights about accuracy and things like that. So I thought that was kind of wild. And he said, yeah, I know I gave up too much, but I wanted to get back into the first round and take a grand slam swing. So he did, man. He did. And if that pans out, that's going to look like an absolute steal of a first round, leaving with West, Nestrasil, and with Frondel at 3rd overall.
Yeah, certainly interesting choices there. But Ross, what if that goes the other way and you trade it up to get Mason West and he gets better offers than the D1 offers he got for football? And he's like, if I get drafted early, or like if I get drafted at all in the NFL, I can make a lot of money. And maybe he's tempted to do that. So there's certainly a risk there. But the Chicago Blackhawks, like, they're in the start of a rebuild here. Like, they're going to have a lot of picks and a lot of guys that they can take lottery picks on. So why not go for this one, I guess?
Only one time tonight did we not have a player of our 50 draft profiles, and 2, it was the Columbus Blue Jackets again that did it. Remember in 2020, they took Igor Chinikov. They played the clip on the broadcast tonight where they're like, yeah, he's a forward. He's a forward. That's all I got. And they did that tonight with a goalie, Pyotr Andrianov. And we were told about him by Nick Spence, a great citizen, who said, man, keep an eye on this kid. A .942 save percentage in 37 games in Russia this past season. So apparently there's like that Gold Star camp where all the Russian kids come over and they just basically scrimmage in front of NHL scouts. And apparently he was ridiculous there. So Columbus needed a goalie, so they went out and got it. There's no better sigh of relief when the team that's drafting immediately ahead of you takes someone who you've never heard of. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, you're like, okay. Oof. And that was probably another reason why Ottawa felt good trading back, because I know Columbus just took Jackson Smith, which is a guy I really had as a good fit there. But if they wanted to go lefty righty and both good toolsy, good skating defenseman, Logan Hensler would have made a lot of sense there. I think we had him picked as a pick for Columbus.
Our first round mock draft, Stephen Ellis took him 14th overall.
Yeah. So there you go. So they got lucky there for sure. And then, Cameron Reed, that was a guy we had talked about. Maybe the Sens would be interested in him. Left shot defenseman that played in Kitchener. They would have had a lot of viewings with him, with Lucas Alanis and Matthew Andonovsky there, 2 Sens prospects. So that could have been a guy the Sens were interested in. So he goes off the board. And then I think maybe I might have misspoke earlier. I think maybe they would have been interested in Zonin as well. He has some characteristics that they tend to like, but I think targeting a right shot defenseman was the right move here, because it's so hard to find those guys. It's hard to trade for them. Look at the Montreal Canadiens. They had to give up 2 first-round picks and a player to get Dobson, and that came with a hefty extension attached to it as well. I'm not saying that was a bad move by the Habs at all, but it can be costly to try to bring those guys in.
It looked cooler when it was 2 Magic Beans. Now seeing that the trade is Emil Heineman, Victor Eklund, and Sean Aitchison, I'm like, okay, yeah, that is a lot of value. Now Dobson's a great defenseman, but that is a lot of value to give up. Speaking of right shot defensemen, I think on both of our boards, our best player available for day 2 of the NHL draft. We'll get into this more on our live stream again on YouTube, 11:30 in the morning on Saturday. The draft starts, by the way, at noon, and the Senators do have the 3rd pick in the 3rd round of second round tomorrow. Obviously starts with round 2, and we expect it to go much faster than it went tonight. But who are your best players available right now?
Well, actually, Ross, ironically, both of us have Fiddler and Spence as our best available, but I've got Spence 1 slot ahead of Fiddler.
And then it's a big gap.
Yeah.
How many of your top 32 went in the 1st round?
Ooh, I don't have that offhand, but I'm looking here. The only guys that didn't were Fiddler, Schmidt, Murtagh, and Ryabkin.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of my top 32. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the same, but instead of Ryabkin, I have Milton Gastrin as the 28th overall pick. But everyone else, we have the same. And that means that we both went 27 for 32 for us. So my best players available: Blake Fiddler, Malcolm Spence, Jack Murtagh, Milton Gastrin, Cameron Schmidt, and Daniil Prokhorov. Those are my best available players. I'm excited for night 2, man. That was fun. I loved the NHL draft.
Yeah, it still was fun. It's a blast, and especially when you get invested in it like Ross and I are. We're not scouts, we're not experts, just draft enthusiasts. It's fun to follow along and be adjusting your list and be like, oh, this team took that guy? Like, that's not what I expected. Or, wow, he's here. Or, oh my God, he's falling there. Like, it's the best reality TV you can get if you're informed on it.
So Chicago had 3 picks. Nashville had 3 picks. The Islanders had 3 picks. Pittsburgh had 3 picks. Like, that feels like a lot of teams with 3 picks in the 1st round.
Seriously. Yeah. Wow. Let's try to nail down teams that had 1 pick that did really well, Ross.
Okay.
I think I love Boston. Yeah, Boston getting Hagens at 7 is nice.
And how about Happy Gilmore making the pick?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a good one. Shout out the Vancouver Canucks. Braden Coots at 15. Ooh. That's nice for them. And our guys over at Locked On Canucks, they deserve a good pick after a tough year.
Yeah, they do deserve that. And that was a great pick. That was one where I was like, whoa, hell yeah. That's awesome. Yep. Good for them getting that pick. I'm going to go. Yeah, I already mentioned Boston. Look, I'm not a Radim Murka guy. I had him at 15th, but it's just so funny to me that the Sabres, after just prioritizing right shot D in the trade for Peterka, getting Michael Kesselring, and Eric, great citizen too. We were with him in Vegas last year. He replied and said, I hear his ceiling is Michael Kesselring when the Radim Murka pick came in. Now, maybe that's a little harsh on a guy who's 6'6" in Radim Murka and 218 pounds, but I didn't love that for Buffalo at 9, especially when Roger McQueen went 10th. I was like, McQueen has to be the pick at 9.
Yeah, and he made so much sense for them. And yeah, Radim Murka. I mean, there's a picture of him answering questions that he just has a blank dead stare on his face, and he did not look excited that he just got drafted into the NHL and could possibly be achieving his dreams in Buffalo. I mean, I can't say I blame him, but yeah, that's a tough one. Another one I really liked, Denwye to Utah. Like,
yeah, it's great.
We're both big Denwye fans, Ross. And
winner.
That's a good spot for him to land. And I think, like, now you start thinking about Tija Ginla and Denwye as their, and then Simashev as parts of their prospect pool. That team is on the rise for sure.
I like that you left out Daniil Booth, the first rounder they got for Jacob Chychrun.
Yeah. Not a lot of value there.
Never heard of it. It's not like his name directly translate into goal or anything.
Well, in French, but he's not French.
They don't speak French in Utah?
No, I can tell you for sure. I was there. They do not speak French there.
Oh my goodness. Say it ain't so. Times have changed. The Ottawa Senators have been listed as one of the 5 winners of the first round on Scott Wheeler's annual after the first round.
Let's go. Yes, Wheeler never likes the Sens picks.
Hensler, once viewed as a potential top 10 prospect in this class, has the skating, talent, and tools to develop into a top 4 defenseman in the NHL, and was my top ranked D on the board when Ottawa took him after moving back and adding additional draft capital. Needs to play more firming and commanding on both sides at times. That's a mental thing that the Senators likely believe he can grow into. I've comped him to Brady Shea and Damon Severson in players that can give you 30 to 40 points and play in the top 4 and can contribute on both special teams. However, he expects Hensler to take charge more next season and Wisconsin to take a step, and he likes the pick. There you go. That's the completion of the spin zone. You've done your 360, and
Seriously.
You're a new man. You were and now you're the smile.
Yes.
All right, great
Yes.
stuff. Let's get some sleep and let's get back to another live stream. We got special guests joining us, and we can't wait to get into some great conversations. Get active in the chat. We're going to have some fun. Day 2 of the NHL Draft on Saturday. We're starting at 11:30. The first picks roll in just after noon. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and I will give it a B+. You give it a B+ or a B?
B+.
A B, and then you add the plus for adding the draft capital and getting the extra pick to just move back 2 spots and take your same player. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.